this? Does that work?
Yeah.
I think you are reading off the same screen, right?
Yeah.
So maybe so you can
I'll
see it.
stand a little bit to the side and talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going last time, so.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started on this public meeting. My name is Michael Drake. I am the Deputy State Engineer for the state of Utah, and we're here to talk about the proposed determination for the Navajo adjudication. And we're very pleased to have an interpreter with us today, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Good afternoon. Sabine speaking. Beneath Ado, Sananit, the Michael Drake, Utah, it's whatever it's so he punched in the shadow, the DJ, the top, top and it, this door out of Washington. So the Utah go, the Navajo Utah go, how it's so good. I would take Togi, I think basically this Anigido Church or Inigido out of a ego, this thing has also shot in Shaya, Tony Roberts, that run this Tuesday, Washington, and the Michigan Natural Resource in National out of Wisconsin, Kenya, Washington, Central, Tradition, Dimension.
Okay, so this is our agenda. What we're going to talk about today. So we'll talk about why we're here. We'll talk about this adjudication process and about how to access the proposed determination, this document that we've prepared. And then we're going to talk about what happens next. This meeting is being recorded, and we're going to post this to YouTube after the fact. And so for those that are seeing us there, welcome. If you have questions, there is an email address on the screen that you should be able to see and send a question to us. Anyways, we'll start from there.
Hona rei tuchwa ini bejo kwake besat aniki to the dini he and then siniki Utah go count iniki Salt Lake to Saho so iniki ajugo count inishin lam hide aroti ego it anju da wish ila alenda bada hunst iniki shin kisha to little an aro the Anigi Hailabis la or Silo Wikides, Shah or the Aro Nasco Kotolis, Ego and the Zihiki, Abad, just all Aro Yashi, Hida Lit, or this Aro Soshi, Kirish in Habes Amli.
Okay, so the underlying reason why we're here today is references all back to an important court case in the the U.S. Supreme Court, Winters of the United States, and what that established is that when the federal government reserves land for things like Indian reservations, that they also reserve sufficient water for the purposes of those reservations. And pursuant to this, the state of Utah and the Navajo Nation began a series of negotiations to try and quantify what those reserved rights were. And that resulted in a settlement that was reached and was signed 2 years ago, May 27, 2022, at this location, just right outside there. And the basic of that agreement was that 81,500 acre-feet of water was recognized for the Navajo Nation. The agreement also included funding from both the federal government and the state of Utah to the tune of over $200 million from the federal government and $8 million from the state of Utah. This is an important part of our water right adjudication. Adjudications build the picture of water use throughout the state of Utah. And so this is very important. We're at the very end of this process here.
아로디 바인 테니기 토 테니기도 가신소 안데 나케야 다시 에디 워싱턴 베 가디 아이소 the Niki Supreme Court in India on AD the essentially became and I was still I guess she has so a topa basket the yeah a question so he became a purpose and I was so she kaya cho ego yeah take a kai care you know the not question in that that bonnet saniki be a whole lot of she be then that was and the not that I don't know that she gave the nanny teniki Washington took out Sunday for Ashiki to Aro Utah give Anida teniki Hashik so 82 Ingo a quite she bet that after the Tabi this place Anike but not Tinaka I can but Masas Lindo the Belana is no she quite is Italia even as she a the c'est bit dino aside of and there's nothing Tobel ki acre feet in equal now she 80 the Napikaya the Utah Tropis Aniki 80 trios in dollars 8 bit dollars and Asian the Kaya the Tohagishi Asian Naka and Nako up has trios in dollars 80 the 90 the Utah Jugo cabinet in the Amena in Kabe dollars also the Indo so peso sta no teka nana is linki asine na e peso so she bedas on Italia ADA ya Washington de ade not anita nini ajo ADA na kene that the middle side is here na sleep quite Indo no chudo is she quite also at Utah deco also she not anita then he gave the Washington has aniki so she it's a big meetings high in the other Asian that the nothing then he could you go a benachiki that talk paid up on that sound or the nick or a change by peso to the domain a could eat at it aniki AI is the Utah so okay ADK Top has ani water rights with the Niki 80 ishi and it's what to 80 she the NASCAR told us to wait at it and your thousand Hane Naki Choy so they Indo the dog Hane Naki Ishi Kaya Abikaya so she got it so not sure Indo the $1,000 $1,000 Asian based at it analyst.
So what you see on the screen now is the adjudication process, the water right adjudication process. This is the process under state law, Utah state law that we followed in this adjudication. The primary parts of this began about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago with notices and summons and claim filing periods. We evaluated all of the claims and we're now at this present point, which is down there at step 12, where we filed the proposed determination with the district court, and that now starts a period of 90 days of objection. And so if people are dissatisfied with the proposed determination as it was filed, they can file an objection. And another part of that is what we're doing right now, the public meeting, which is being held right now. And once we get through this objection period, we'll evaluate these objections if we get any, resolve them, and once we get to the resolution, we'll do what's called an interlocutory decree. And that is the final step in the adjudication and represents the end. And so that's where we are in the process. We're very, very close to the end.
The Kennedy the last year has machine and Yado and other key goods, the KD, think that Arjo Hale top, you know, top, the house in that Yagi, they base it, and she's kid. Every night she requires something little, I think so. This Shan, they don't know bells and all that. Every year, something Aro stoti nahot aniki base ade aniki shin ato is be la letan de ab large shin hashing so ta na de kitchen ke da londo ta shin hashing so be da sa de no be da do in shin ta da khai is ADT shin kwai ke na so be da ya to si even na chi shin AD na yagi base ade aniki shin na ndo na skanzo to ni so ada shin da kid da is be na on this.
Okay, so part of that process is notifying people of this, and so we notified the federal government, which is very important in this case because the federal government is acting in trust for the Navajo Nation, and so they filed claims on behalf of the nation, and we provided notice for that. We also provided notice to water right owners as listed on our records. There are a few state-based water rights that fall under state jurisdiction that we provided notice to. All of the claimants were notified, and then the council of record were filed if they filed an appearance with the court. So though notice was given and instructions on how to access that. Here on the screen you see the hyperlinks, the internet links to access both the proposed determination and our state-based hydrographic survey map. It's important to distinguish this in this particular case because there are two parallel efforts on hydrographic survey maps. We, the state of Utah, prepared a very limited one that addressed just the state-based water rights. The federal government is preparing a hydrographic survey map of all uses within the Navajo Nation. And that is still underway as we speak. And so there's still work to be done. That will be coming out at some future point. That project is being managed by the Bureau of Reclamation.
I don't think it's like 80 that when I say ego na hot to HOAD the nanny the out Washington see Washington is Washington cannot situate the kitchen has the Cisco Pike has a Z even as not associated is sort of an else and all the kitchen others did that even as the Torquay water rights to be any thousand or that of this legal even a so the Utah got the Navicaya other piece that piece aniki the kind of Nasibe else and all this. Of course, it cannot El Kidiki, Yaznaki, Yana Kigo, Basic you internet, the Niki, like a job, each $1,000 in a like ego, which now is the key part of a card now, Kigo, the large AD, the Aniki piece of all this AD key, $1,000 liquidation interest in the machine the big in the cut on abolishing and that is not of the cable ADA the tona Utah got the Navicaya is Aniki Argo, so the toy cut away toward the cake was energy net Ingo so we can't balance of that ADK and Master Aniki the car doors niche out of the Kaya and Tocho indication as to the Hawando, 2,000 don't they, and the Abavan and they got the 2,000 out of they that I can hold to that Tocho, any given and Tobin and Yashikishi, I don't think you live alone here. You live alone in the literature, any that aging, so better house and all the Econet, Koea Hanena Tocho, Indo, they at least 10,000 dollars according to AD. Other yards, other sheep has $1,000.
So just a real quick summary of what is in this proposed determination. We do have a few copies here with us right now, but we ended up recognizing 86 water rights in this proposed determination. Of those, 11 were state-based water rights, and of those 11, 5 were found to be on Navajo lands. And per the agreement, those are part of the settlement, part of the 81,500 acre feet of water. After those 11, 75 were defined as federal reserved water rights. And that breaks down into the following categories that you can see on the screen. 2 of them were for Hovenweep National Monument. 2 of them were for Rainbow National Monument. And then one is the Navajo Nation reserved right, the 81,500 acre feet of water. And then there were 70 allotment claims, all of which are part of the settlement, the 81,500 acre feet of water. And so that constitutes all of the recognized rights. There were 16 state-based water rights which were forfeited in this adjudication, and then 1 renumbered water right. So that constitutes everything that's in that proposed determination. To a large degree, the reserved rights were the vast majority of the rights that were recognized.
Arodi kadet aniki tonage benasi kadet aniki di sebedino askhas ke has amushi ma ya dani zido ke di sa ko she di Utah do bedet akonde di sto stla ko she di tokdena ke yaki aju also she bedet is nila bazen on ya akonde arosla so stadino asla ko she di Washington the Bekeya sto ego sin pa hosen di statino astraki she na kigo di Hovenweep National Monument in the Asian ajobe ope hosen la arona to Rainbow National Monument in that kigo hosen la aro the Navajo Navajo Nation in the asa sin ope hosen la to aro sto so the thing was 80 kaya take as a double negation a so but is so the thing what bear was and that called Asian but they got the any bit I couldn't large shady that I think that start up your so she was and the AI that she we take it out the house that she so should that English that or you what now does link na the shindo the cake arosai ashi osa ashi na bitten number gas do na ya so ashi khani shida so konta.
So let's look real quickly at the front page of a proposed determination. It gives you a lot of important information. You have the district court. This is filed in a state of Utah district court, the 7th district in this case. This is the name of the adjudication, and just below, unfortunately, just outside of the box is also the civil number. This is the information you would need if you were to file an objection. This is the name of the hydrologic division and the subdivision names. And then this is the area and book number that would need to be referenced if you were to file an objection. This is all on the front page of the proposed determination.
The ananas kidikishe kwake kispahouse and all that the chokhala dinahot aniki be not so see be not ido ajotic addition and ekita be elda on jan eko kochot an edo to it edo is agation I gather Benasha had this Benasha other $7,000 in this machine in that sort of high has done all this. Each kid has army to a larger $7,000. He gave a quite large so in the 7th Judicial District Court and for Grant County, a state of Utah to a quite a house to have a district court be when that bounding. Aro ke kone di beje yiki be study hate ewa beje ko logic pa sa de aniki e so pa be sto obiyagi esto e agadi anami ahi so ndiki e shi kwa ke daki pa iniki e kwa beje so aro biyagi esto di be the number be iniki be thousand or the thing e kwa be so aro so di ya aro na biyagi e ya the tona gai top hashing so shida the liniki a quite a house in a vision, no, vision was long machine, a quite a yard, a quite yaki so. I don't think KD, a ya, and stop a D, not saucy, but that's a house and all the thing to a quite Kaya, in the door, I don't got the not sausage case and then you quite a vision, keep sort of.
The next page of the proposed determination has the instructions for filing an objection if you were to do so. And again, this is the civil case number, and then these are the instructions. It's very important here to realize that an objection needs to be filed with the district court, so the 7th District Court. It can't be filed with the state engineer's office. It needs to be filed with the court. And so these are instructions describing how to do that.
The another thing is ego is argo ego the behad is not so big at the no zinc is care has the up is to all the dinner has kidigishi be covered all the to a large the case number with the then give quite be so all the aro kun the Ila is IDB, like ego had that ego, like ego she, as she named that, easy, some case, I give is a lot of like a bit, as dodges, I don't know, so behind that ego. I don't know, a dog or a Washington, Utah, but it eyed so she don't think I which don't think AI is the anhui ahi aniki anhui ahi yagi when any article to
Okay, so this is the point where we talk about what happens now. I've already talked a little bit about the objection period, which is now running and is running until August 20th, 2024. After that, we'll work through our various objections, and once we resolve all of the objections, we'll seek to have the court do an interlocutory decree. At that point, the state of Utah will release the final installment of its $8 million, and then that kind of wraps up the Utah's portion of the adjudication. Also, what's happening now is the federal government, as I've already said, is doing a hydrographic survey map. This is ongoing. They've finished areas such as Red Mesa, Aneth, Montezuma Creek, Oljeto, and Mexican Hat, and from what I understand, they're starting in Navajo Mountain and parts west towards Lake Powell. Those are all areas that they're working on. And then the thing that continues to happen right now is the Navajo Nation is doing water development project planning, and they're working on getting some of these projects moving with the money that's been allocated towards this.
Arodik adiki khayda the whole zisto aro nasko ego pamin tino le to how to nisigishi pana chone akodi hodina dashi piskadashi ya besat et ako sat et aro sinas ati iska baz abi kona ya di khayda to hosia ego to aniko da not so bad this sessions and August 20, 2024 when actually Ajabe Atoliki in a Kindes Rushi Adabe Atolishi Bafunus and Olive. I don't even a shaky Asian ice for even a shaky 8 Nahot Atolik, the interlocutory degree, then a net on it, a quacket, she not so bad. No, dot as adjudication even as adjudication the Utah dego se be the media it's high in never kaya get and that Washington each we let on the coalition quite given yet. I don't start seeing Washington they got a of has car illegally I thought she United China die Tonna reit Tonda bekeko or Tocho in the art in the Behados in Tanigo, the Asian Ida the Kanas lit the navigation or Kanas and look at the historic and the inscription. Mexican hat, though Mexican water, though Red Mesa, though the Nazis on that one, the Adjudication Ida, Tadalia, court, and a conde so late Asia and living in Nishbo, a could Asian as toll yard, she the arts of never check was NATO, this Bells and Niki, as Champ a caution, Kedam, Englishing. That would have known that one of the cake and then in the issue has which is $1,000. Aro even as he so I base the never German Nagi, the never Washington, the Nagi Tuna, Tobin that on the Shredat, Nasco, Tobanda, Sado, Todo, able to lead on the Lord to ask for Totri, any gear law, the Hanel Enosh, even national, AD and Washington, and that in Zeniki, AD in Hana, actually, and hide the later.
So let's talk just briefly about a couple of projects that we know about. I do this carefully because these are projects that the Navajo Nation ultimately has jurisdiction over, and so you can see on this and the following slide, your primary contact for these is the Navajo Nation Department of Water Resources. However, the state of Utah has been coordinating with the Navajo Nation when it comes to some of these projects. And so this one that we have on the screen right now is called the Sweetwater Pipeline, and it's proposed to bring water into Utah from the Shiprock area. There's already a pipeline, but it's proposed to enlarge it and to be able to serve 2,000 acre-feet of water to the Red Mesa communities, to Aneth, to Montezuma Creek, to some of the areas surrounding there. And so this is pending U.S. congressional approval. It's working its way through the process. That's an important move that will bring a lot of good clean water into the area. One other project that is just in the planning stage as far as, sorry about that.
This is the watches the so AI that so the Tobin that is what AI the that so I don't have what these are what the can hold yet is based Tobai Abu aiding is so I that Kunde. Asian topic and then the others, Aussie, company, Nadisa, Banana, so I give a topic and Digo, even a topic and the oil and scars of sheet or that or nickel like a sheep and that, I think out of the Asian to ADT, the navigation, she asks for the Utah Rock, so I give the Kian Kiniki. The Red Mesa, the Yagi Quantity and Kitchen, they say to the store of Benashi, Toy and taking other tradinos, Indo Sargent, him, a boy that single day, a quite a machine. A court, the shipping had ID or Asian at the Never Washington, Biarota, initiative of Department of Water Sources with the Ninigi, Adoshi, which of a dog's name, or Pagishi.
Another example of a project that's being considered, and this was part of some planning studies that were done a few years ago as part of the negotiation between the state of Utah and the Navajo Nation, was the consideration of perhaps a water line from the Mexican Hat area bringing water down to the Old Jato, or the area that we're in now. And so again, this is a project that's been thought about, and it's just an example of some of the projects that the Navajo Nation is considering. A lot of things are up in the air right now, and again, your primary contact for this is the Navajo Nation Department of Water Resources. If you have additional questions about either of these projects, some of the other projects that are being considered, it would be a really good thing to interface with them. To find out what's going on and how this money is being spent, proposed to be spent, and what projects are being pursued.
Although this analysis, so I don't have it so with the initial one, I don't engage AD. Now, which I thought she out lost on day or J towards she. I could have initially now she go as it was a hard lost all the fishing and the Kuro, I think so, and the Benat out so she thought she when the land I later. She condition AD, the night is kid all the Sendo. She AD the number Washington, though, water resource initiative, and then state all this.
So that brings us to the close of our presentation. We are happy to take any questions. I do have my contact information, so I'm Michael J. And also Chase McDonald, who's over there, who is also he's the Assistant State Engineer over the Adjudication section, which oversees all adjudications throughout the state. You can also see a direct line, a general adjudication line that you can contact. We're happy to answer questions. And certainly relating to the water rights type issues. A lot of these issues are very bigger than just water rights. They get into a lot of funding type questions and whatnot, and we can help direct people to the right people that have those answers. But feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions.
Die tot betreffende Insanity door ik attribuut in want dat eigenlijk de George Wells en door die als dat is en ik dat je eigenlijk dat is niet door die kwijt is het daar kan die als geen dat je Chase McDonald of the other Michael Drake die conscious AD is niet met dat ik dat is door de chance dat ik which was done at all. It is the voice of presence and case quite a true Dutch instance and quite a busy so I gave up and that's it. It has an give by so I also I think so will go 8 nights kid I don't have that's other should be I think about the with half of the sessions on the 80 behalnd the commissions behalsen van die alle email die in die beste history of any to a quite address to be any that's so basically I don't think it's so all
Are there any questions that you'd like to ask in this? Yeah. So.
On your slide about the adjudication process, I don't know if you can go back to that.
Yeah, so I'll go back to that slide about the adjudication process.
So you have listed public meetings today. The 20th of August is when objections can occur. Potentially any objections. Is there a timeline for resolution of objections?
Yeah. So the question is whether there's a timeline for resolution of the objections. There isn't a statutorily defined deadline for resolving objections, and so they will. But at least we're staffed such that it is a lot of urgency for the state of Utah to get through these objections, and so you're going to see us moving quickly to try and resolve them. And our goal, if we can get there, is to have objections resolved by the end of this calendar year. Certainly, if we get very complicated objections, that might be difficult to accomplish. But I think we're hoping that we're just about there, and we get this thing wrapped up.
So, if that were to occur, a timeline on actual decrees being written and processed.
Yeah. So I mean, if we get through this objection period cleanly, then we could have it by the end of the year and be completely done. But it's very subject to what we get. If we get very complicated objections, some objections take years to get through. We're crossing our fingers and hoping that doesn't occur, that we've gotten close enough that we maybe have just a few cleanup objections and and motion the court on those amendments, and then we move on to interlocutory decree. But we'll see on the 20th.
Have you received any objections so far?
So the question is, have we received any objections? No, we haven't. And we sometimes hear rumors of objections. We don't know, we haven't heard any rumors of objections. We've had some discussions, there might be a couple cleanup things. There's always a few typographical errors that it seems like we find. And so there might be a couple little cleanup things that we do. But we don't know of anything substantial at this point.
Thanks.
Any other questions on the record? Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Again, we'll post this onto YouTube, and so those that are watching there, thanks for joining us, and we'll go ahead and close. Oh, I'm gonna let you talk again. Sorry about that.
그렇 아딘 아케든 아이데키디아 나카나 저케스 암 아이데키드 조이디디 디 소바라 민스는 주디카 Adjudication aja hanal kid e kadishe e kwa asanitle arabe kedo e yadi donhit zineki do khit e badi is id do donhit at egi nal sos be khat diado aro kedo shi khanzaj quiz card khabe has angelila akon dita na ta ha zo zinki e ya e kwa e do isbe the quiz card has ani e ba attention ila akoshi edi aro so shi na de kidiki e ya abna shiki sto e khane la jo ai ta sa akhina sa abo na so si ni so to ya egi da e to egi sa aro na ta ha so zi ko e ato sa akhina ta na so ta ni so ta ni la akoko sto shi di ba khedi ki ben hot akko e shi to e di at na di kido ida is aki that ena sos be that is be that days in all the nachi shi be aida be that is anashina cancel it arona sos be that agi that shi aso ajona cancel it ara sos ajona cancel shi da ara be kid shi da be not on e best on all this e di shi could it all this aro I could show you if you did that.